welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 124, Xbox 20th anniversary, with me, George, and this week joined by Tom. Peter Moore tattoo reveal to my Peter Molyneux Milo reveal. How's it going?
What was the Milo game? Was that the
fake Connect drivel that never actually came?
What, where you like raise a child?
Yeah, and you could like draw on paper and show it, and it would like take a snapshot and bring it into the game. And Peter Molyneux was.
You can't knock his dreaming and his capacity for coming up with great concepts, but execution mediocre.
I see myself as the Peter Molyneux of podcasts.
We are. Grand ideas, poor execution.
Well, here we are in the painted hall of the this side of the Ponsonbury Manor. I feel it's time to give them a rundown of how things are going to go. Coming up, we've got some chunky news. Then we've got the feature, which is a little bit of a memories, really, from myself and Tom, and also your good selves out there in the community, which we'll weave together amongst spicier conversations about the Xbox brand. And then, obviously, Stingray, the real deal, is going to rip up the drive. He's the medium to which we go through the latest new release games for this week. There's not many. And for those who are a little bit short on the show's lore, Stingray is the man who used to bring us those wonderful things on a weekly basis in real life to our front doors. Once he's gone, Wattle Wall and all that other good stuff, I asked Tom what he's hoping to play for that gaming week. But as you know, young and old, the hardened, the veteran listeners out there, the show cannot and will not begin until I ask Tom, what you been playing?
This week, I've actually bought some new games. I've got myself Battlefield 2042. I've got Kenner Bridge of Spirits.
Now, you backed me into a corner. I said, I'm not sure about this Battlefield. I'm not vibing it, because if the multiplayer's not very good, there's no single player to fall back on. This was George's concern. Now, tell me I was spectacularly wrong, and Battlefield 2042 is a shining example of how a game should get served up.
I don't think I'd quite go that far. I've not had that much time to spend on it. I've played 4 or 5 matches of the Conquest mode, like the large-scale battle multiplayer.
How many characters?
128, so it's 2 teams of 64, I think, which is pretty impressive. And it is when you wade in at the start and everybody's running in and there's tanks and there's helicopters, and pretty impressive.
Recently, you've been playing Hell Let Loose. How do they juxtapose against each other?
Well, I've stopped playing Hell Let Loose. I feel like there was a lot there to learn, and the group I play with online, they weren't too keen on learning it, which is fair enough.
What, there wasn't that traditional,
Hell Let Loose is great if you can get past all the... Well, there's barely any tutorials, but just get past that initial phase of like, right, we've got to do things completely different to how we normally would. The big problem with Battlefield 2042 I've found so far is there is no incentive whatsoever to play as a team, other than if you get in a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's just like run in, shoot someone, die, respawn, and it's just like everyone's doing their own little thing, and like, yeah, if you get that part of the map and you can hold it down, I'd love to see a company like Hell Let Loose does that quite well, but I'd like to see that come more into a mainstream game, but it's always going to alienate the audience too much, I think.
I thought the graphics in Hell Let Loose looked really kind of weird. I know Call of Duty...
I'd argue they look as good as Battlefield. Battlefield 2042,
yeah.
I was expecting a graphical showcase on the PS5, next gen. Pretty poor, really. Pretty average. Looks bland.
I think a lot of games are struggling to cross
we were saying
the generational gap.
Yeah, we were saying at the start of the show, like, we were promised Battlefield 2042 originally was going to be next gen only and PC. I'm sure I've seen a previous or last gen version. Might be wrong.
Well,
But it
look
feels
at,
like
look,
it
ask
feels like a
yourself-
PS4 game.
Ask yourself this: is Call of Duty Big Red One on PS2 even close to Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox 360 at launch?
Well, no, exactly.
Those PS2 players asked for Call of Duty 2 for Christmas. They got Big Red One. They were probably happy.
Yeah.
But Christmas 2005, me and you were throwing potatoes into barns and then wowing ourselves with the smoke effects as they billowed out those windows.
That's what I wanted, really, and it just kind of felt like me.
So
It just didn't look that great.
So, according
I haven't tried the portal mode, which everyone seems to be saying is really impressive. Obviously, you can take vehicles or troop units or maps from a lot of other Battlefield games.
Right.
I sent you a video of the El Alamein desert battle.
Okay, I'll confess I haven't watched it.
It's pretty cool. Obviously, seeing all the English soldiers piling in. Let's get started on the absolute the operators in Battlefield. It's like, and then also there's a lot of thing about this at the minute in the news as well, with Activision Blizzard being in trouble for harassment and all this other stuff. The start of Battlefield, you turn it on. I've got something else to say about that as well, but you turn it on and then you go in.
Proper curmudgeon today, haven't you?
Why? It's just sometimes the world irks you, doesn't it?
Let's air these wounds. Come on, let's.
You go into the operator selection, right, and it's like they've basically gone, we need to be as PC and gender neutral as possible.
Okay, what does that mean to me?
Why? Why do they have to do that?
Why? I don't understand what you're saying.
Why do they have to do it? To pander to people who probably won't ever play the game.
Stop. Explain yourself. These operators, these are the different classes in the game.
Yeah, so they're different characters.
Are they like men and women? Is that what's the problem here?
They just don't look. No offense to anyone, men and women, or any race, but none of them look like they're in the military. None of them look like they're a special forces operator. They're just, it's all generic rubbish.
Yeah, but we're back to this point. It's a game.
You're right, and I think
2042.
Yeah, I know. But it does if they don't rubbish.
If they don't go, I can't really imagine what you're saying, because I'm not, as you know, you and the listeners know, I play one-player games. And that's where I'm at these days. But apart from the odd maybe collaborative experience,
it's like they have to explain. Everyone has to explain themselves nowadays. And at the start of the game, when you turn it on, it goes, "We want to offer a very friendly blah 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 area for people to play in. We accept people of all races, religions, genders." And it's like
Fortnite pie.
I don't know what it is. I don't even know what this thing is that's going on at the minute, where people have to explain themselves or just, it's too over the top.
What was the other game you bought? I think we should park this. The game, it's a mess and you're not keen.
The other thing, I got it, took it home, tried to log into it or just go on it like a game. You put it in the machine and it should work. Sorry, it doesn't. For some reason, because my brother pre-ordered it, it had his email, so I couldn't log in to even play the game. Why do I need to log in? Why do I have to be a part of the stupid community thing? EA account. You shouldn't need an account to play a game on a console that you already have an account on. Okay. Absolute moronic, stupid.
They want you in their ecosystem.
Exactly. We've probably got no shame in talking about that. We want people to listen to our show. I don't care, to be honest, but it's just ridiculous. These stupid Ubisoft account, EA account. You can harvest my data from my email address.
In my mind, I'm having a backlog of shame deja vu moment. I think we need to pour cold water on you. Can I?
Let's move on to Kenna Bridge of Spirits and rein it in a bit.
Thank goodness.
But doesn't it annoy you, like with these big companies? I put in Kenner, nice little indie game.
Welcome to LBC with James O'Brien. My guest, Tom. How's it going, Tom? We're here to talk about diversity of video games. Where's your head at?
We've done shows on that.
Park all this now. I wanted to have a nice little journey through what you've been playing. Don't make it thorny. Not now, not yet. Okay, we've got that to come. We Kenner Bridge of Spirits.
What a wonderful little game that is.
Have you finished it?
No, I've not had much time to play over this weekend. So, yeah, I've started the first couple of hours. Very enjoyable. Yeah. Looks fantastic. Plays a bit like a traditional Zelda game. Very much.
Would I vibe with it, do you think?
Yes, I think you would like it. I think it's a little bit of a blast from the past, but brought into a modern sort of setting or modern
Does blast from
quality.
The past mean awful controls?
No, I think they're actually quite nice, tight controls. Just more traditional, like you've got your lock-on button, you roll, you sort of parry with your shield. It's not a physical shield; it's like a bubble thing.
What didn't grab me with it is I didn't really think that the idea, the story, it just didn't look that great to me.
I'm not further enough into it to kind of sort of see where that's going. But overall, considering it is an indie game, it's pretty impressive. And it was £40. Battlefield was 60, and the quality. Admittedly, that's a big multiplayer game, so it requires a lot of moving parts in the infrastructure of how it's made, but the quality level, if you're talking graphical and audio, is just as good as Battlefield.
Right.
Yeah.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you like video games, podcasts, and reminiscing? I'm actor, video game writer, and total sweetie pie Connor Savage McCabe, and on each episode of Call Me By Your Game, I sit down with a guest for an intimate look at a special game from their past. Did you and your dad beat Spyro the Dragon over the holidays? Or was Halo 4 the one thing that united your roommates during your senior year of college? Stories like these are what Call Me By Your Game is about. From video game content creator Janet Garcia to Hades voice actor Courtney Vinay's, I interview wonderful comedians and game industry friends about these memories. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe someday you'll call me by your game.
Has balance been restored? Are you content now?
I think it's just been a frustrating time with... as you know, I'm a big Overwatch player, so I've been waiting for Overwatch 2. So
I don't know why, but there's a box.
When stuff gets delayed because of business and personal reasons, like
ask Mike Rouse why that game got delayed. That was in Backlog of Shame. We talked about that. And
because they announced it too early.
Yeah,
and then you even said that. But I just don't see why video game fans need to be fed all this information about this CEO's doing this, and people getting on a moral high horse online going, yeah, we should burn the place to the ground. I'm not going to buy any more of their products. Yeah, of course, mate. In a year's time, when it's all blown over and you forget all about the story, you'll be right down there day one. At least be honest now. I even put a comment on saying, I don't really care what's going on there. Just want to know what's happening with the games. That's what it's about. We don't need to be involved in their business. They will have an outside third-party person come and assess that company and see whether there's sexual harassment going on there or whatever. So why do we as fans need to know all this? It's just beyond me. Stuff's overcomplicated too much sometimes.
In this world that we live in, I think that the need for news drives a lot of this. If you make a website that measures its success to advertisers based on how many hits you're getting, you need to make sure that when people check your page, because they've been bored for 5 minutes, so they refresh their phone on your website, that they've got a new story to read, which means that we get the length and breadth of everything the gaming industry has to offer, warts and all, because we want the content as consumers. They need to push stuff up for us because we keep demanding it when we keep refreshing their page.
I mean, it's very hypocritical for me to say, because when we're looking at finding news, we'll be like, oh, that's quite an interesting story. But really, it's like we should try and keep more stuff about the games and keep these things personal to that company or to all those people. That is an internal problem.
Let me ask you this, and then I want to quickly tell you what I've been playing, because I don't think we've got the time budget for me to give you the same length and breadth of what you've given me. But you make these, I would say, rather bigger boy comments about what you think Battlefield 2042 should be, a future war-based game, no doubt with lasers in it. And you seem to have your bottom lip out because there might be a female commando, or
it's nothing.
A slightly portly-looking guy who doesn't look like he should be in the military as an operator in this game. And that's fine, because you turn up, you want berets and Chuck Norris, and that's all you need from a game, and that's completely fine. But the same man criticising Battlefield 2042 for adding a little bit of colour to its character selection screen is the same man that'll sit harping around the wheel of a gaggle of complete misfits that pander to all the preconceptions that you just mentioned on the game called Overwatch. Yet it's the greatest game ever made, and you applaud it for its award-winning character designs and ideas.
They're more like an animation, though. It's more like their characters design. If you're going to have a warfare shooter, it needs to look quite what it is. Like Overwatch is very much, it's almost like an anime in some ways. And I love the characters. I think they're really well designed, whether they're man, woman, any race, gender, whatever. They're just well thought out characters.
A hamster
in a ball that you can swing around the map on, that is used as a type of weapon.
Right.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like a part robot. They're just really well designed characters.
Right.
The operators in Battlefield are just a bit like the bigwigs in the business have gone, what's current in the news at the minute? Oh, well, gender equality. Girls want to play as girls. Men want to play as men. Okay. Here's just to put it in that computer and out come the characters. And they're just, it's insulting to like all of us.
Okay.
And they have like stupid camos, and what is going on?
They're trying to bring out a game in a very challenging time. They've also, as far as doing the right thing by people's emotions and feelings is concerned, if they'd made a misstep on the character selection screen, they would get absolutely over.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Hear me out. They also see free games like Fortnite decimate revenue that they could earn, that they traditionally would have earned in the 360 PS3 era, when brown wall-to-wall war shooters were the heroin for most gamers.
Yeah.
A license to print money. Then someone flipped the script. They started giving the game away for free. What the hell? How do we monetize this? You don't.
That's a big gripe of mine, is the fact that I could be playing, like, I'm not knocking Warzone. It got a bit same old. They didn't bring enough new maps into it, in my opinion. But to think that I could play Warzone, I know it's very different to Battlefield, but it's a military shooter for free. And it's actually well made. The gunplay of COD is pretty solid. It's been a long time. It's been 10, 15, 20 years in the making. They've got it down to a fine art, and it's almost like I've just shelled out like 60 quid for this, and you haven't even got a single player campaign in it.
I think,
at least respect to Call of Duty, they churn out a campaign, whether it's good or not. They'll put a campaign with it.
I think they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They were probably trying to find a way of justifying the model. They're also probably trying to find a way to their shareholders. They probably predicted when they start making Battlefield 2042 that it would be able to... They probably had the design brief pre-COVID, said it was going to hit at this time. They've probably already sold the shareholders on all the different things the game's going to deliver. Now we've arrived in a time where maybe Battlefield feels misplaced. It's arrived on a disc. Why are people... What? Why do you need that? Surely it should just be download. All of a sudden, Battlefield, does it have the foot place in the marketplace? Probably not.
True. I think as soon as big investors came into video games, like, individuality just died a death of like, oh, boss, I've got this great idea about how we could do this. Well, no, it's not going to fit with the script, Timmy, so we're going to have to put that one on the back burner because it's got to be out by Christmas. And it's just it wears a bit thin now.
Well, I
at
had
the
this
minute.
conversation on C. Pliskin's show. Like, people can't afford, you can't put, the way modern business is, if I suggested to you, great new idea, what's the track record behind that, George? Nothing. Okay. What's the other idea you've got? The sequel to the 13th sequel to the game we've been... All right, okay, tell me about that. Because didn't the last year sell XYZ million? Yeah. So if it sold 83% as many of that, we'd make profit. Yes, we would. How many copies of your game would you need to sell? Oh, I don't know. It's just an idea at the minute. Yeah, park that, George. Call that a good idea for tomorrow. Yeah. Develop the sequel that I can tell the big boss man and the shareholders about. Yeah. I can do a spreadsheet. I can do a PowerPoint about the revenue earned and returned and time spent and how this brand's got associated. We can sell T-shirts and coasters and all that other ramble. We can sell the film rights. Your new idea, as good as it is, what do you want me to do with it?
That's why, in some respect, independent game studio is better because as a developer, and if you're in charge of that company, admittedly you need funding, but you can just basically go, if that insults people, I don't care. It's a tough world. Like,
I think in the
it's pandering. It's very much pandering
I think there's two stories. There's your one where you feel like the industry's pandering to every single person's individual feelings.
I honestly don't think there's many of these people actually exist, as we've said before. These ones who will make a kick and a fuss about it. The problem is now they can gain momentum, so they'll hop on Twitter, they'll hop on wherever. We need to cancel this person. You're talking about someone's career.
Why are we on about this? Can I tell you what I've been playing?
I'm just angry.
I don't know why you've brought it on air. Now people are driving down the road. They got up in the morning. They're like, I'm really looking forward to an Official Control podcast. I need that in my life because the boys will give me a lift, and it'd be like, oh, Tom's on a downer, so he's going to.
I'm not on a downer. I'm on a. Just want to
listen. This crusade is going nowhere because does anyone of any real talent or power listen to this? No. All right, it's dead to you. Let me tell you about the fun I've been having on... Let's start with the Nintendo Switch. Because, look...
Terrible console.
Nintendo Switch Online. I've been having some fun with the free... I've only been on the Super Nintendo games, but it's reawoken my love for the simple joys. The 16-bit Nintendo games that are on there, I had some great fun with Yoshi's Story, Donkey Kong Country. I'm looking forward to get stuck back into some of the other games. I didn't even scratch the list of the N64. And, I think it's not as big as I thought it would be, the list that is, but the content is curated, they're good games, and they're ones that I would be interested in playing. So I'm quite keen to dip back into that. I've also been on Forza Horizon 5 on the old Games Pass.
What do you think to that?
What a spicy little game. I like it. I think it's great. I like the setting. I do. I like the fact that it's a bit more sort of out there and not in your backyard sort of stuff. For me, it feels way more adventurous.
Than the UK one?
Yeah.
Suppose so. You've got terrain that you just wouldn't get over here.
I think we said in the preview show, it's just the
variety
as well. Of the terrain. Yeah. It's like you've got every single base covered in. Yeah. You haven't got that here.
No.
You haven't got the desert, you ain't got the mountains, you ain't got any of that sort of stuff. It's wonderful in its own way and possibly, arguably, is the most beautiful country on earth. But Mexico has got way more exciting stuff in for a video game. And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
We're not talking politics. We're not talking social justice, friend. We're talking video games. I don't know what show you thought you walked in on today, but it wasn't Panorama. Neither was it Question Time. And it certainly wasn't...
I told you that time then what you thought were khaki-dressed Cub Scouts came to the manor.
Mm.
They brainwashed me.
Khakis dressed as Cub Scouts.
The khaki-dressed. looking
I
Cub
was going to
Scouts.
say, I wondered if you'd maybe been in the old mushroom bowl.
They weren't neckerchiefs round their neck, by the way. They had these red things on their arm.
I want to move past that again. Another rather controversial comment from the curmudgeon in the corner. We'll bring him out eventually. He'll be happy by the end of the show, listeners. I can guarantee you that. And Forza Horizon 5, let's go back to that. The car handling reeks of PGR. I haven't really talked about Forza Horizon on the show, but seeing as Forza Horizon 5's out and I've been having a good old go on it, the car handling most reminds me of the cleanliness. You're able to execute. What I like about the series is you're able to execute like a driving god without having... If you can drive, sometimes you get home and want to play a video game about driving and be as good in the game as you are in real life. PGR, and now to an even better extent Forza Horizon 5, takes away the clumsiness and allows you to execute in a car the way you probably feel you would be able to in real life. It is slightly more arcadey, but you know what? You're just having fun. I like all the challenges, finding the boards. You know, it's a really solid game.
I think it's a very good driving game made for people who don't even love driving games, because it's almost like a GTA.
That's the one thing I was going to say. It's, again, a driving game that's built for people that probably don't normally play driving games. Like, it's Capture James the Work Experience points. It's his first ever driving game, and he's putting the hours into it. Would he put those hours into Gran Turismo? No. Not a chance.
No, I think it's too punishing, isn't it?
That Gran Turismo?
Yeah. And also, I was thinking...
The proper Forza games are far too punishing.
Yeah.
Well, Forza Horizon 5 is a light version. It's PGR. Makes you wonder why they didn't call it PGR.
I do hope PlayStation have got something in the works to rival it, because it is the one... Like, I'm umming and ahhing where they're getting Gran Turismo, the new one, because I love cars and stuff and racing and whatnot, but just being limited to the track now seems almost ancient.
Well, it means that Test Drive Unlimited might scratch that itch for the cross-platform.
Depends how good. Yeah, I mean, what is that? Like,
well, they'll be taking some long, hard looks at the Forza Horizon series, and they'll be trying to make a multi-platform version of it, won't they?
I hope so, because that's good inspiration. The teaser trailer did not do much.
To be fair, when I was playing Forza Horizon, probably more this one because of the scenery than the previous one, but I was thinking, feels like Test Drive in a way. Test Drive had that sort of disconnected handling from the cars.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't maybe as granular as a sim, but it was dialed back a little bit. The Test Drive Unlimited was like dialed right back though. It wasn't quite right. It was fun enough at the time, but if you went back to play it now, you'd be like, oh god, no.
It's hard to see where Forza will go from. Forza Horizon will go next. Really, they can change the setting, but I do wonder whether we'll see. I wonder whether we'll see different vehicles.
Well, they've got a truck in this and some like drifting vehicles and buggies and stuff, which again lends itself to the fun. There's a transit van. Must say, shout out to the community. They designed a yellow transit van with a logo on the side. It looks amazing. Unofficial Controller podcasts are all racing round in them. Apparently the skin's been seen by over 9 million people. Could be billion. Either which way. A lot of people have seen it.
Our logo?
Yeah. Huh. The fans have made a what you want 10 penneth of what they've got now, do you? When are you ever going to stop sucking blood out of me like a vampire?
That's your role now. I was actually quite touched.
I actually thought
I was actually going to say I was quite touched that someone's done that, but...
You should be. Just take it for what it is. It's nice. It's nice. I also have finished Guardians of the Galaxy since I last saw you.
I don't want to hear any about it.
I'm not going to say anything about the story. Calm down. Apart from there's loads of things that I've missed. I read a review about it in Game Magazine. And they
how long did it take you? Roughly?
Not that long. 20, 30 hours max.
That's quite a long time.
Max. 20, I would say.
20 max.
An outside push. And I was trying to find... Because when I popped out the other end, I haven't got much to do to platinum it. Probably would like to go through on a New Game Plus, if I'm honest. Because by the end of the game, as with most games, you're quite powerful.
Yeah.
But when you start off, you're a bit like, little boy Peter. You're not bigger boy. You haven't got all your facilities, have you? Your team haven't got all their different things. Because if you go through the lower game levels with a new game plus character, you just boss, aren't you? You feel like you feel right.
One-shotting people.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I want. And there's a couple of different paths that I know that were obvious to me that I could have taken differently, because it does sort of say to you, "Oh, you just branched off, pal." And I read in the magazine there was a branch offset. Now I had it play out differently, same result, but different play out of the situation around a song and us singing the song together to galvanise us as a team. Quite how I got to the song I got, I don't know, but someone in the magazine, they all sang "Don't Worry, Be Happy." That never came up in my playthrough. So these interesting choices that because there's probably a whole other goodness knows how long of content that I haven't seen. There's definitely different endings, because that was alluded to at the end, and I quite believe that there are. Generally, I thought it was really good. I read a review in this Play magazine. They gave it 6, and I was like, "Oh, that's probably a little harsher than I'd have given it." I'd have given it the good old Tom 7 days out of gone score, ramping up to a possible 9, depending on my feelings in a week. But I think I would stick it somewhere between a 7 and 8, if I'm perfectly honest. While I was playing it, it was on an 8, but since I've sat down and come away from it, it's probably simmered down to about a 7.
What games did you play on the SNES?
Yoshi's Island and Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah,
Donkey Kong Country held back slightly by the fact it's not on a CRT. It's starting to look tired now on an LCD screen.
Yeah.
It needs the pixels and the scan lines to hide it up a bit. Yoshi's didn't matter so much. But Guardians of the Galaxy, thought, well, that's where I was going with that. Turn the page, give Alan Wake 8, the remaster. I was like, I enjoyed that, but it was an older game and it did feel a little bit like it at times.
Yeah.
And it's basically recycled content. Now, I'm a big Alan Wake fan, as you know, but I did something did stick in my throat that they'd gone off and had an attempt at an original game and it scored less than Alan Wake. I thought that was unfair. But like I say, when I put it down and came away from when I was playing it, I was thinking about it. When I wasn't playing it, I was listening to the music. When I wasn't playing it, I had a
that's a sign of
a
very good game, really.
It's for you. I think it's going to be a good Christmas game. Secondly, I've been playing Avengers again. Don't ask me why. You see, all you've done is harp on about Twitter and news, and all I wanted to talk about, friend, was games. You know, that's what this show's about. It's about games. So I've been playing Avengers. So I've caught back up and done the 2 Hawkeye stories. I've got one last mission to finish. Then I've got Battlefield Candor to do. The one-player elements, for the most part, I enjoy. The actual main story of the game that was like Guardians was amazing. These add-on bits, these stories where it's cutscene held together by some blatant multiplayer gaming that's been populated by bots. It's a means to an end. It's a means to an end. Do I feel like said superhero when I'm playing the game? Yeah, sometimes.
Do you think Avengers got treated a little bit like Cyberpunk in the fact that it was just rubbish and like almost review bombed in a way to a point where
I think
not many people actually played it?
A lot of people jumped on it.
Yeah.
Bobby listened to me when I said you would really like it because I know he's like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games in the past. And this is basically a 3D version of it with a really interesting story about Kamala Khan wrapped around it, which actually pulled on a few of my heartstrings and thought that element of it was wonderful.
Is that the Miss Marvel
character?
Yeah.
She's really... And the bits of her where you're playing through in a almost, a gingerbread way of a traditional action game, like Uncharted or whatever, played out really well when you're exploring the helicarrier and things and developing the character, played out really well. Went on a mission in the Quinjet, drops you in generic location, open building A, take treasure B. This is why Bobby got bored of it, because the loop is pretty boring.
Yeah.
And to max that game out as he does with the Platinums, he had to take it online. and keep doing those loops. I asked him why, because he enjoyed the one player, then put himself through hell to get the platinum. But you know what Bobby's like? He'll do anything for a platinum. He'll do anything for a platinum. So that's what I've been playing. One would have to imagine possibly the most in-depth. This is why you're not on the Discord. Stroke controversial, what you've been playing. Normally we would head to the news for controversy, Tom, but don't panic, because you've brought it all to the house.
You say controversy, it's just opinion. The problem is people aren't allowed opinion nowadays.
You shouldn't be. You're dangerous. But this is why we have you on the show. You're the colour, and I'm the black and white.
Okay.
You bring the fun, and I don't know what I bring. Facial herpes. It's time for the news. We scour the very darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, this could be like the Fourth Bridge. A big bug-squashing update for GTA Trilogy is now live. It arrives following an apology from Rockstar in which the company stated it has ongoing plans to address the technical issues and to improve each game going forward. And boy, does this remastered collection need it. The bugs and performance problems were a significant issue at launch. Rockstar built its reputation on attention to detail, and while all three of these games still come highly recommended, this disappointing compilation will go down as a stain on the label's record. More updates can't come soon enough. Anyway, patch 1.02 aims to fix... the list is endless, but a long list of bugs. General fixes, though, include improvements to incorrect or misplaced textures, so all those sorts of grasses you were seeing hovering in the air are now actually going to map to the train they were meant to sit on. Character models are being tweaked, and audio skipping is also being changed and improved. Of course, this update will have to be put to the test, so before jumping to any conclusions, just keep your eyes on your Digital Foundry and your NX Gamer's probably got a video up live now just judging what these have done to the various different platforms. Your recommendation in our episode was to get that game on the Switch. My recommendation to anyone listening would be don't listen to Tom's technical recommendations. Do not buy that on Switch.
We hadn't seen how it was going to perform, had we?
I hadn't seen how it was
We
going
were
to perform on
going
Switch.
based on the fact that if you haven't played any of those GTAs, to probably play them.
When I saw it running on the Switch, it did remind me, out of all the modern consoles to replicate a PS2 experience, the Switch is the most close, graphically wise, from that game. Thing is, I'll tell you what they've done is they've ported it somewhere. Someone along the line, a work experience boy, exported it to run on mobile. Then someone went, you know, when they remaster a film, George Lucas doesn't go and get the VHS from Andy's Records, does he? He don't go, do you know what? Let's go into Lincoln. Let's go down to HMV and get ourselves a VHS of the original Star Wars. He don't bring that back then to Rick McCallum and say, hey, Rick, work your magic on that, pal. He goes and gets the proper original game out the boot, doesn't he? He gets Ray on the phone. He says, give me the original game. Let's make this into something. Why didn't they get the original game? This is one we need for the Rousemeister. Was it too easy?
Too easy, I'd say. Financially viable.
To grab the mobile port.
To just grab the mobile port, churn it out. How convenient just before Christmas. We shouldn't poo-poo it because, well, we were discussing GTA 3 the other week and we're saying the new trilogy collection is probably going to be the best way to experience them in a modern day because they have refined the gameplay a little bit. And it's not as horrible as everyone's saying. It's just, I do feel like people just wanted another Cyberpunk again. They just want these things to like...
No, I think that's a bit unfair to the people. I would say your expectations from Rockstar should be...
they should be high. Yeah.
Right? Would they have... When they're on song, and I feel like they're a company in the wane, the two brothers have split, Laszlo's left, other things are happening, it really sounds like the money men are steering it, and one of them is just in for a paycheck. I could be wrong. If you're listening, come and have an interview. You never know, you might change our lives. But, you know, I should say they're struggling against what we talked about at the beginning of the show, money versus content versus risk-reward. And I should imagine they're probably not that bothered about remaking their old Grand Theft Auto games from PS2. I'm sorry, they're probably not. But someone probably saw a quick book.
Well, if they were, they wouldn't have sent it out to the mobile port guys.
But you would have thought with all the resources they've got, they should have handled it in-house, done it classy, re-secured the licenses, put it out, made it be I don't have an issue with the graphics. Like, I would have preferred them to be a little bit less rounded. And people, I think, if they saw the original PS2 game today, they would vomit all over their laps.
Yeah.
You especially. But looking at the remaster, I don't think it's that vile. I think they've done a good job of keeping that classic style without completely rubbishing it. But it's the attention to detail. Rockstar have got all those Q&A testers. You know, how did that get past even one of those guys?
I just don't think they cared, did they? It was just churned out.
It's a shame, because that's going to be...
It'll tarnish like another generation's experience of like one of the best trilogies of open world games there is.
I don't think that next generation of gamers...
They probably won't even try it.
They won't try it, dude. They're not interested.
Yeah.
They're not.
I suppose if you've got Grand Theft Auto 5 and you and your mates play the online and you suddenly look at these, you're going to... Some people will get them just out of curiosity, playing for 5 minutes, go, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah, agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah, they're not great, are they, from what we've seen? But
I just think they probably owed it to their own... I don't feel like a Rockstar... If this had come out the same year as Red Dead Redemption, I don't think Rockstar would have accepted these games being this way.
Yeah, it does seem a bit of a trend at the minute. It's always the same round this time of year because they just want to get it on the market, but there just seemed to be a little bit of a like sloppy, like, yeah, just send it out, we can patch it. That day one patch gives a lot of breathing room. So unfortunately, you get these early review codes that haven't had the patch yet. So you can get completely inaccurate reviews of a game saying, oh, it's broken, it's buggy, it's a mess. And then comes out on release and people are playing it going, well, actually, it's pretty good. So they've got to be a bit careful with relying too much on not even a day one patch, but yeah, we'll patch that in the future. We can sort that out. Just get it out there. But really, if you're paying like £50-60, you want to be getting something of good quality.
To be honest, I think a lot of games these days probably just ship with the web address to where they're going to.
I found it interesting. I think it was Mike Rouse was saying, sure, when he was discussing about Nintendo have almost got lazy in their own way as well at certain times. Not so much with the quality and the polish is still there, but the recycling of just parts of other games and ideas and
true.
Sort of just churn that out to send out another port or a remaster.
I suppose in a way their most recent 3D All Stars was
was atrocious, really, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, handled terribly. You can buy it for so many weeks or months and then it's gone, and just very bizarre behaviour.
Thing is, when they say that, that's going to make a load of scalpers sit up and buy 10 copies each.
Yeah.
It was timed to coincide post-COVID with a need for them to recoup money in a very short space of time. Does it surprise you?
I think they made enough money off Animal Crossing.
Well, they might have done, they might not. They probably spent it all on someone else. Anyway, next bit of news. Shine bright like a diamond. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl arrived on Nintendo Switch this week, so how are they going so far? Well, we'll likely have to wait a little bit longer for some proper sales data to surface. According to the charts on Nintendo Switch eShop, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are already bestsellers in the US, UK and Japan, and even countries like Australia. Switch version is number 1. In every location mentioned, it's Pokemon's Brilliant Diamond, featuring the legendary Dialga. Okay. The remakes of the popular Nintendo DS titles have the potential to rack up quite a lot of sales in the long run, with the Nintendo Switch recently surpassing 92 million hardware sales. We knock it, and I tell you what, as a device to make money for Nintendo, it knows no peers.
Yeah, when I went to get Battlefield at the weekend, it was like right near the end of the day because we were going to the cinema after, and it was like, I said, "Oh, you've been busy today?" And it's like, "Mate, it's been crazy all day." I said, "Oh, what? Because of Battlefield?" It's like, no, because of Pokemon. I forgot those were coming out. But it goes to show what powerhouse that still is.
Yeah, I mean, we're up to the DS games for remakes now, so not long before we catch back up with ourselves, pass each other in the tunnel as we go. Oh, you're a remake of it. Oh, aren't you a new game?
I think the one they've got coming out in January looks quite interesting. I was a bit disappointed to find out.
That's the Arceus one.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed to find out it's a bit more like Monster Hunter. So you'll go to an area, and you're in that area. So it's not.
It would be like
It's
that.
a bit of a sly bit of information that's gone under the radar, but it is out there if you have a look. And from the reading of it, it's very much like.
Do you not, though, in traditional Pokemon games, do you not really go into an area?
Oh, yeah,
You do.
absolutely. But I thought they'd changed that and just
These
gone,
spaces-
here's this world, or here's this country or map. You are free. You go about the map. You do what you want.
The only issue with that is levels. I don't mean traditional levels of level 1, 2, 3. I mean level of your character. Now, as I found when I first started playing Ghost of Tsushima, I got carried away and I ended up in an area that was way too high level. But I was determined to clean it out and then changed my mind after getting owned so many times. Came back and went back to the original starting area and fell in love with the game.
Do you think like the younger generation of gamer can't handle the open world? Is it too? Do they need the linear drive of like, here's the reward at the end of this area?
There's two things going on here, isn't there? Pokemon traditionally has always been a handheld experience. Pick it up, 5 minutes, turn it off, put it down. Pick it up, 5 minutes, turn it off, put it down. Maybe sit, have 12 hours on it or whatever when you're having a binge, but for the most part, it's snappy games.
Mm-hmm.
Is a big open world on what's technically a handheld really that compelling? Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, I played linear games recently and actually enjoyed them as much as open world because it is easier to craft a narrative that drives it forward.
The open world, obviously in the 8 and 16-bit era, technology was limited, but people loved and couldn't get enough of side-scrolling platform games, be it shooting ones, collecting ones, speedrun ones, whatever it was, platform games were the king. Then we went to 3D platforms, and 3D platforms then evolved into open world game. Every game now, worth its salt, has to forge its way through an open world experience. Does that mean that we're getting open world burnout? Yeah, I genuinely believe we are. But if a game serves up something that isn't open world, you get a grump. You've just got a grump because Pokemon isn't open world. Yet single player narrative experience where you're led down basically a hall of mirrors. Well, I like. That's the sort of game I really enjoy. With exceptions, I suppose. I do like an open world, but where you're forced to experience emotions, almost like a film, but you're playing it.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy was a good example.
It's very difficult to do that in the open world, isn't it? And have those moments because you can have glitches happen. You can just have the event not happen at all because you're not there at the right time.
And I think people are experiencing this. In the drive, it's like when in the motor trade, when you bring out a car, it's like the Fiesta now. In 10 years' time, the Fiesta's going to be like a Hummer because every time you bring out the Fiesta, it's got to be slightly larger than the previous one. That's what's the point in getting it. It's got to be slightly longer and slightly more accommodating. Now, if you park a Fiesta now next to a Fiesta of today, my goodness, the Fiesta of today is a small car. It's going to look like a Cadillac compared to a Mark 1 Fiesta. And I feel open worlds, if you were to release a game tomorrow, Far Cry 8000 for an example, and it was 1 square mile smaller than last year's game, how's that going to work for you? Now you've got to fill that square mile with stuff.
Yeah.
Side quests. And if you can't fill those side quests, if those side quests aren't going to be good, you've got a problem, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got a mediocre game.
I think Ghost of Tsushima just carried through because I loved the main story, but the side quests for me were a bit like,
Classic Sony move. They nail a good story across some okay-ish bits and bobs.
You've got to have the open world interesting and interactive and have events.
Which Ghost of Tsushima nailed.
Yeah. But if you've stripped those away and just had a very barren open world, an okay story, and those side quests you do, it'd be like, oh, this is pretty average.
For it to be right, you need to get all the elements to sing.
Yeah. Not an easy thing either.
No, not at all. You can't just have a good story because You have to get every single element right. But when it's done right, well, there's some pretty rewarding.
I quite like the recruiting of like you make friends with those. There's more like the main side quests, isn't? It sounds strange. Main side quests with those characters who become your allies.
Yeah,
they're quite interesting because they push the story forward and they're there at the end.
And do you know what? I played it with a Japanese voice, and at the time on the PS4 Pro and the base PS4, the lip syncing wasn't there for the Japanese dialogue, and it took me out of it a little bit, but it plunged me more into it. And now I hear, if I go into my mind's eye, I can see her talking to me, and I've just mapped her mouth around the words. And I thought that game was good. The art style and the world was built to just beckon you round that next corner, just beckon you over that next hill. They're pretty good, really.
What's the last bit of news?
This is probably not so significant now, but it was when we could have recorded and should have, would have, could have recorded the show. But Master Chief would prefer you didn't look. As you might have heard, the Halo Infinite campaign preview embargoes have now been lifted to select press, media and creators. It gives access to the first 4 missions with some restrictions in place like no spoilers, as noted by 343. It's also meant to allow fans to watch safely and enjoy first impressions. Unfortunately, though, classic internet, Tom's single-handedly going to take them to war, so don't worry. It seems some spoilers are already being leaked online. If you look in the right places on websites like Reddit, Twitter and YouTube, videos of what appears to be Infinite's opening campaign cutscenes are being uploaded. We've had a little look around, and if you don't want to spoil the surprise for yourself, we would recommend you just stay well away from the internet. Of course, you won't see us sharing any of this content anywhere. We're not into that. We don't like that. We don't like stuff being ruined for people, especially story stuff. We think it's completely wrong. And the fact that people are doing this to Halo Infinite, do you know what? They're turning it round, and I think they should be applauded. And people have waited quite a long time for another Halo story. The fact people are ruining it, just keep away. Just keep well away. Halo Infinite's campaign will arrive next month on the 8th, and if you do want to learn more about the campaign, there are plenty of spoiler-free videos to go and watch. Earlier this week, Microsoft and 343 also surprised fans with the big release of the free-to-play Halo Infinite multiplayer. Stealth drop, just like back in the 90s, baby.
That was pretty good. I'll give them that. Right, there you go.
I need to get on that, to be fair. But
and
Forza Horizon 5 has been blocking my path.
One of the most impressive things about that Halo multiplayer that I've seen is it is very polished and it runs very, very well, which in this day and age, you shadow drop something like that, you'd expect the servers to be offline for 2 days.
Tell you now, I couldn't be prouder of them because I'll be fair, they took a kick in for Craig, right? Okay. Craig's actually a meme in this game.
Yeah,
now,
I've seen that. Right? That's pretty cool.
Craig took a kick in. And they probably went back to HQ and they were like, oh, no. So, no, we're not going to take this like this. You're going to come out swinging. This is going to be phenomenal, and we will make it phenomenal.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think they're going to pull it off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the story's about. I've played all the others. Maybe one day I'll get to play it if I get an Xbox Series S or something like that, but yeah, very excited for people who are going to get to enjoy that.
Like an oncoming storm, the Xbox Series S, it just keeps forcing its way into my life. I don't know if I will have one in the bigger board.
You should play what makes you happy, I think. Just I got a little bit Nintendo blind with the Switch and was very much like, oh, I'm going to play that on the Switch because should support it. It's like, just play it on what it runs best and what console you want to be on.
The series, the Forza, the Games Pass has been around in the background. The Flight Simulator tweaked my nose up a little bit. I was like, I'm kind of interested in that. I said to you before, the rest of it is kind of stuff I've played before.
Is Age of Empires 4 on there?
I don't know.
Well, that's another one that I'd really want to play.
Okay. Well, if it is, get the PS5 sold. There, and Forza Horizon 5 came along, and that was more than it was. First of all, it was a little bit, let's have a look then. And then it was like, I don't know, God knows how many times later there's me still donutting around about in a drift car going, this is phenomenal.
I think the benefit of having all three, access to all three with you, is the fact that you can go, you know what, I like playing this console the best. I'm going to play that for a while. Whereas when you own one, you kind of like, no, this is the best. Your opinion is just very biased.
Yeah, I can't see me really. I mentioned I threatened, didn't I, about the Switch, and I can't really see me going like I've had a go on one. It's very cute. It maybe probably want to get the SNES out more.
Would you try Metroid Dread? That's nominated for Game of the Year.
I'm just kind of like struggling with the concept a bit. I was playing it on the screen, and it was like, yeah, this is this is good, but it's maybe not really what I want full time. It's a nice sort of dip in the Switch, but it's not something I'd want all the time. And
so you're playing docked?
No, it's a Switch Lite.
Oh, sorry, on the undocked. Yeah.
And the Series S, glad we've got one in the house. Phenomenal to get access to it. As we'll probably get into in the feature, I've kicked the wheels out of most Xbox exclusives. I absolutely kicked the wheels out of them. So there isn't really left. There's not really much left for me there. These new exclusives that are coming through, exciting. So yeah, bring it on. We're in a good
They reckon
place.
they've got about 50 in development.
I know. I read that. I was like, oof, that could get spicy.
Yeah.
How is this era long enough for Microsoft to execute? I'm not doubting their ability. I'm just thinking timeline-wise, 50 exclusives to fit in a console's lifetime.
It's probably more than... That's easily one a month.
That's where PlayStation 3 got to when it got its real good power. They were able to pump a game a month.
Yeah.
They kind of still do it now, but they don't pump up the sort of between indie games as much. They used to get as much airtime in the end of the PS3, beginning of the PS4 era as a AAA game.
Yeah.
So every month you had something new to look forward to. It was a bit more, this is what I want from the modern platforms. PlayStation's guilty of this, Xbox is guilty of this. We've arrived at this time where there's tons of stuff and you don't know what to play because there's so much. Back in the day, they would spend a month telling you about the game that was coming out and why you should be excited for it. And you could be like, oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'll look forward to that. You bought it for whatever price, $39.99, and that was your game for the month. And we kind of built the show around those loops. You know, a game comes out, you play it for a month, you feedback, that's all that done, brushed off, and that's how that's...
It's a bit dribs and drabs at the minute, isn't it?
Since the new era and COVID, it's kind of slit the throat with that whole cyclical month.
You've only got to look at Game of the Year this year, and this is not discrediting any of the nominees. They're all very good games. I've played quite a lot of them. But any other year, they would probably almost not be in the running.
Let's draw a line under the news.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything? I don't think we did this week. My God.
Crikey.
This is Panorama. We're already an hour into the show.
Are you joking?
I'm not. Did we miss anything? I'm not. I ain't got time for this today, George. I need a quick show. Let me tell you. Pull up a pew. Let me tell you about a problem with the internet. Let me tell you a problem with the internet in 2021. Okay, let me get my duvet and tell Mummy I want some bitty. Did we miss anything? Do you have an opinion or take on the news we missed? If so, Tom, how would the collected masses, how would they let us know that you slated their favourite character on Battlefield 2042 and the reparations you must pay? How are they going to contact you legally?
Can reach us at questions at unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com.
Yeah.
That's what my lawyer told me to say. Just say us to everything. You'll be fine.
Okay.
You can direct messages on Twitter or Instagram and reach us in the Discord.
If you want a right to return to Tom doesn't believe in social media. That's why he's awfully brave on a microphone.
What?
Anyway.
That's the whole point. Is people can hide behind their little keyboards.
Well, you've took the keyboard away.
If someone told me I don't like your opinion in real life, I'd be like, yeah, I'll do something about it then.
Listen, talking of bravery, Xbox, 20 years ago, got super brave. I don't know what possessed them. Fair play to them for seeing it through. But I don't know what possessed them to think that they could launch a console when they were famous at the time for software. So it's the 20th anniversary of Xbox. It's one of those times that make you say, no way. But gamers, time flies when you're having fun. Xbox Original made its first foray into gaming in November 15th, 2001 in the US. And now we've done a show. About the launch of the Xbox called The History of the Original Xbox. And we actually built that around being in Times Square when Toys R Us was there, meeting the fans. Probably one of the most powerful shows I feel I've been involved in, to be fair. But you will be the judge of that, I'm sure, listeners. So dive back into that if you want to know the full ins and outs. We've got quotes from The Rock, Bill Gates. It's pretty good. Tom's never heard it because he's not in that one.
Absolutely.
I don't remember recording that show. You weren't in it. That's why I've never heard about it before. But today we thought it'd be interesting to hear some of your best moments with Xbox consoles as we discuss us. Let me take you on a journey.
That was great. Yeah.
Let me take you on a journey. Sit down, relax.
I am sat down. I don't know why I'm relaxed, but I'm sat down.
Ask Mummy to unbutton on your side and to serve up your helping of bitty. It's my time to get Jackanory, friend. So, here was me, a loyal and rabid Sega Dreamcast owner, spanked on his lily-white backside like a chest at a Ric Flair chop party. Okay, I wasn't happy. My favourite, probably one of the best consoles I ever owned, was being retired in a very inglorious way. I was angry at everyone.
How many years was it out? 2?
2? Oof. Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes it's just about the brightness that you burn, not about the duration.
I like that.
That's what you tell your good lady, right? And it's worked for you so far. So you did say you like it. You know, it's a way to live your life.
Very good.
I don't know how I fish you into these, but you come on the hook like an absolute good one. Oh, I've been playing
easily baited.
I've been playing Stardew Valley as well. CFAX graphics. Let me translate this to you. CFAX graphics, Harvest Moon, Wannabe. It's way better than all those games. But as far as you're concerned, in your mind, that's what Stardew Valley's parked under.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay. Pixel art farming simulator.
Yes. So farming. Anyway, so I'm sat there, burnt out. There's one thing on the front of that Dreamcast I can pledge my loyalty to. There's one name on the Dreamcast I can see a link between the death of the greatest console I ever owned and the birth of where I can play my games next. Because I want to play Xbox are entering the gaming market. Brilliant. Microsoft. That was all over the front of the original Dreamcast. Powered by Windows CE Microsoft. It was. That's how they did it. Basically, they got the PC architecture in there so they could port games over easily. One of the biggest objections to the Sega Saturn was it was hard to develop for. We're not going to do that, Sega. We're not going to do that again. Boom. PC in a box. Got your Dreamcast. Make it happen. Boom. Naomi board as well. Nailed together. Make it work. The fact that the Windows technology was barely used in the end. Irrelevant. They got the name on the front of the box. They got penetration into the gamer's mind. So, when I found out that Microsoft were bringing out a console, when I found out it was going to be the most powerful console ever made, my younger gamer brain, it's like a mind and a brain combined together, said to me, you keep buying the underdog, boy. You had an Atari ST, wasn't as powerful as the Amiga. You had to defend it in the playground because it had MIDI. Was it ever used for the games? No. What did it sound like on the ST compared to the Amiga? Flipping terrible. Do you know what? I'd slit the throat of anyone who said different in the playground. It's got MIDI! Bands use Atari ST, so it can't be rubbish at music.
I think you genuinely like the intellectual confrontation of the playground battling.
It's kept me sharp,
like,
hasn't it? It's kept me sharp all these years. These are why I won't have amnesia, dementia, whatever it's called. I've already forgotten. It's game over for me. Anyway, so when I found out it was going to be the most powerful thing in a box, I thought, finally, I can buy a console that's never going to get killed because it's so powerful people are just going to want to buy it. I was again wrong. But the Xbox I was away at the time, but when I got back, I picked it up in the launch window because I literally physically wasn't here. If I had been, I would have been at midnight picking it up. And if I'd been at midnight picking that up and living a normal 9-to-5 job, I'd have been ill for a week. Because I pulled it home and I played Halo, finished it, and I got real deep into Project Gotham Racing. Obviously, it was a nice home for an ex-Dreamcast owner because you had the spiritual sequel to Metropolis Street Racer.
Was Sega GT a launch game on there as well? I remember it being very early on. It was
early. It was window. I don't think it was at launch.
Yeah,
but it did used to get them bundled up in packages.
Yeah.
I've forgotten where I was going with that.
You got home playing Halo.
Play Halo. Play Project Gotham. Oh, that's what I was saying.
Gotham.
As an ex-Dreamcast owner, he felt a little bit salty that maybe some of his favourite games were just going to get slipped by the throat. To see Shenmue 2 on there.
The box art on that is amazing on the Xbox.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's probably the nicest one. To see Shenmue 2 on there, and then in your own mind start casting illusions that Shenmue 3 might be on there, made you feel quite, well, it was a logical conclusion, wasn't it?
Yes, it was at the time.
Crazy Taxi was on there.
Yeah.
You know, Panzer Dragoon was on there, and these were locked. Crazy Taxi wasn't, but these were locked exclusives on Xbox. Panzer Dragoon, locked exclusive. Jet Set Radio Future, locked exclusive. It kind of felt like Sega and Microsoft were working together to reignite the spirits of the Dreamcast.
With Halo, the first time I saw it and played it, I felt almost like we were on the PC Master Race had finally arrived. Because we'd had GoldenEye. And we were like, yeah, that's a shooter done right on a console. And then we had Halo and we're like, whoa, this is really, really impressive.
Prior to playing Halo on Xbox originally, shooters were very corridor based.
Yeah.
And you were when I first put that on,
very basic.
And the first level when you're on the Pillar of Autumn and you're escaping and they teach you how to look up and down and things, I thought was very, very cool. Been done before in other games, but to me that might have been my first proper exposure to the whole. Do you want to invert your controls? But we've done it in a gamey way.
Yeah.
And then when you leave the Pillar of Autumn and you go down onto the Halo ring itself, mate, my mind was absolutely blown. There wasn't the internet, so you couldn't go online and check if your thinking was the same as everybody else's. So I was just so wrapped up in the moment, but my chest was out. I was like, I've done the right thing for once. I've bought... oh my God, I can scarcely believe it. I've actually bought the right console. Yeah. And to me, the Xbox was. I had a PS2 at the same time, but did I think the PS2 was as good? No. It's got its own charm, it's got its own games, but at the time, this has changed a little bit over time, because I think some of the games on Xbox Original probably haven't aged as well to a modern gamer, but I think that the library and the games and the experience compared, we've talked about this before, Gun I own on PS2, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing. Gun on original Xbox, that's something else.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitive experience. It's probably on PC as well, but I've tried playing it on PS2. I might as well be playing it on PSP. I might as well be playing, I don't know what, I might as well be playing noughts and crosses, if I'm honest. Original Xbox, it felt broad, it felt big. When you play that opening level where you're shooting birds out of the trees with your dad, Cotton Eye Joe, whatever his flipping name is, right? PS2, it's terrible. On Xbox, not now, but at the time, it really felt like you were playing Red Dead Redemption 2, didn't it? It did, though.
Yeah, we were big fans of that when it came out, weren't we? And it came towards the end of the console.
I remember that was the last game you and I both finished before we got the 360.
Yeah.
It was like...
Yes, it was, yeah.
Literally a month or 30... we got it done as we went...
I think there's a lot of conversations of like, imagine how good this looks. Imagine how good the 360 is going to look.
Sadly, Gun's a great example of a game that was on original Xbox, but was also a launch title for 360.
You nearly bought that, didn't you?
I nearly did, but no amount of spit and sawdust and polish is going to make that look the distant. PS2 to Xbox original, you've got some distance to travel. Xbox original to what they served up as the 360 version? No.
Yeah. Especially when you stacked it against the ones that had been solely built for the console. For the new console, it suffered a bit.
But original Xbox.
Fable, thoughts going looking at that?
Do you know when I
1 and 2?
I got
especially.
original. Well, we'll try and do some timelines. We'll talk about the original Fable. I got that at launch. I was well deep into the Xbox ecosystem at the time. I have to say, Tom, a little bit of a confession to you before we move on. The Xbox brand. Now, one of the killer blows to me was the Kinect. We've talked about this. I went all in on the Kinect. I bought every launch game, literally every launch game. I bought the thing because of what Peter Molyneux said, basically. I bought it. Couple that in with the fact that, in my mind, the Xbox... I have some really happy memories of Xbox. The brand, the ecosystem, the games...
The Blades, Major Nielsen, Inside Xbox, all that, the official Xbox magazine, everything. I can remember everything about it, and it does bring me a great amount of pleasure. Unfortunately, it's tied up very tightly with a time in my life which is no longer accessible to me. Yeah.
So every time I think of the 360 and the games and I see the art, I had quite an extensive library. I don't know if you can imagine that, of Xbox at the time.
Yeah.
And most of those games were bought for me by someone. The console was arranged and bought for me by someone. Where I played it was in an old home of mine that really is quite tragically now not accessible to me. And really, I never... Once we went down the Wii U route, I thought I was probably never going to go down the console route again, nor would I probably, I couldn't really buy an Xbox again. And that's kind of like stayed that way. I've still got a lot of affection for the brand. I still think it's doing some courageous things out there. I still think it's wonderful. Sadly, a little bit tarnished for me personally, but I still get very excited about the brand. I still, in the morning I get up, I check the Xbox sites, then check the PlayStation sites, and then check the... I don't know why. It's always been in that order because I've always done that. Oh, what's happening here on the Xbox? I don't know why, but every time that's where I go.
I think we're lucky to have 3 different big companies, 3 consoles.
When did you get your original Xbox? Wasn't at launch?
No, I got it when they did like a revised launch, I suppose you'd call it, where they had the smaller controller S.
Like the Halo 2 era?
Yeah, just probably
like
before then. My mate had one, and I've told the story before when I went round to his when he got it at launch, really liked it, and then I finished college and just started working, so I just had a bit more, you have a lot of disposable income, don't you, when you're that age, and if you're still living at home. I was like,
we still live at home.
We do. I'll get one of those. So I don't even remember whether I could tell you what I bought with it. I reckon it was WWE Raw 2.
Of course it was.
I think I got it with 3 games. I got it with that. Oh man, I wish I could remember. Knights of the Old Republic, maybe. That was one of my favourite memories on original Xbox. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. That
was another one of those moments when I had original Xbox where I was playing that and I was thinking, I'm really glad I got this because this wouldn't have been on Nintendo machine. Absolute fact.
Yeah.
And because of the lack of the hard drive.
Yeah.
I know listeners, the PS2 can take a hard drive, but it wasn't used in the same way as Xbox. Because of the lack of the hard drive, you weren't getting PC ports, at least of any significance anyway, and you certainly weren't ever going to get Knights of the Old Republic on PlayStation 2.
I think in our house as well, in that time, we had access to all 3 PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. Definitely. So it was kind of... I don't have that many stronger memories of the original Xbox because of... It was always kind of just playing the latest thing on whichever of the 3 consoles we had, or which was the most popular that month.
What made you then decide because this is where there's a bit of a disconnect. What made you then slightly nonplussed? Now, I think most people make this decision. But what made you suddenly go, oh, in some ways, first console, original Xbox, you could be considered not successful. If you were to measure it only on sales numbers versus the PS2, it launched late, it was full of cutting-edge notebook hardware, so it was probably on the heavy side of expensive for Microsoft. I don't know if they actually haven't researched it recently, so I don't know whether they turned a profit on launch stock or not. Probably one would argue, probably not. And obviously for that reason, it could be argued it was a failure. You'd had PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 to that point. What made you go, oh yeah, do you know what? 2005, I want myself a slice of Xbox 360, please.
I think obviously the PS3 was a way off, wasn't it?
It was a year away.
And the PlayStation, for me, kind of blurred into the background. I never played Metal Gear Solid 3, which was one of the kind of defining games of that console, but it came right near the end of its life, from what I remember. I
suppose if you were in the ecosystem, MGS3 was a reason to be excited.
Yeah. I was probably, well, definitely by that point, I was more a Xbox and probably more a GameCube fan than anything else. Constantly waiting for Twilight Princess to come to GameCube, even though I ended up getting the Wii version.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think it was just a logical step. It was where the online was just starting to take off.
Yeah, I think there was also a bit of excitement as well. It was like, I believe the 360 pulled in a lot of people that had had PS2 since the year 2000, and the PS2 was, by that point in time, looking a bit tired. And it was Xbox 360 was promising next gen now.
Yeah.
And it was as well, because the leap between those two consoles was absolutely awe-inspiring.
They did right. I think the biggest thing Xbox did right with 360 was to just get it out early.
Yeah.
They saw the Xbox as like a tread in the water, the Xbox original tread in the water, see what ripples we make in the market, and then just go from there. And they thought, right, the right thing to do is just get the next gen console out there. And it worked, really, in my eyes.
Some would say, we mentioned at the top of the show, I mentioned...
Because that generation was a long one. PS2 had been out a long time.
Yeah. Well, 360 and PS3 ran on for even longer. You know?
Well, true, yeah. But it felt like we were just ready for those...
It did feel like that.
Those new consoles. So I remember seeing the Xbox magazine, and they had a feature on Project Gotham Racing 3, and this was before launch and quite a few months before. And I think I bought that in the magazine shop and read it on my way home. And then ringing you, telling you about it, and we were both like, yeah, let's get one of them.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people just got excited for the 360. Didn't want to wait. It was a good price point.
It's the red rings of death. The cyberpunk of the Xbox 360 generation. Did you ever have any issues with that?
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, I had mine went, but it lasted a long time. It didn't get it to start with.
I'd have defended it. Oh well, but to be fair,
the ones who suffered at the start definitely were guilty of like, oh, well, my console's overheated. Well, you've got it sat next to a radiator.
Mine lasted. I had a new child at the time, and I wasn't gaming quite as probably hard as I have done, previously or do now. So mine was very sort of kid gloves.
Yeah.
I suppose. But that original launch one of mine, because I used to think, well, I've got a launch model, mine's fine. It died.
Yeah.
It died. And it didn't need any provocation from me. It was always in a well-ventilated space.
Yeah.
Would never be, at the time, I wouldn't want someone that, especially at the time, who could get away with doing 12 hours straight without being pulled up for it. I can get away with it now, but at the time, that was a big no-no. So it was very kid-gloved. Christmas time, I get hammering with the Christmas game.
Yeah.
I was on the Christmas loop. Now I'm like, I don't know, Sport Lord Ponsonbury, I just play them whenever I feel like it. But Now, you'd be excited for the Christmas game. Halo 2 has been one of my Christmas games.
Yeah.
Every time I look at the Halo 2 launch guide, Mumsy got me Halo 2 for Christmas on original Xbox and came with the guide. Every time I see the guide, I'm unwrapping it in that same room. It's like time travel. But 360, original 360, it came at the time. It felt fresh. The graphics looked good. It had a really unique, like when you first saw that sucked in waste of the 360, you knew you were dealing with a real classy act, that shape. It wasn't just a box. It had that sort of shape to it, didn't it? Like that waist, which made it look just really nice.
Yeah.
I think that, I admire what they did with the redesigns of the 360. Like the most latter one, they were obviously drawing the parallels to the Xbox One, and that's wise to do that. And then not the black versions, but the mid sort of life recycle where they kind of slimmed it right down and they made it just a shape box. They put
I got that. I got the black one of those, which was quite a nice looking machine, really.
But for me, it looks quite aged now. But at the time, that 360 was sexy.
Yeah. It was,
the launch model.
Yeah.
The original launch model.
Yeah, it was an interesting looking machine.
And
definitely.
juxtaposed against the PS3 is aged well in its own style, I would say, but the 360 was coming in, it was the underdog, it was a little bit different, wasn't it? It had that, you stuck it on your system and there was a loop underneath, there was a little hoop underneath it because of the shape, and yeah, it was cool. You could have it one way or the other. It was
exchangeable faceplates.
Exchangeable faceplates, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they never really caught on, did they?
No,
Did you have any faceplates?
Yeah, my brother used to work at Game at the time, so we'd get just sort of, it'd be like, I got you a couple of these if you want them. There'd just be some merch tat that they'd be given if they wanted to take them home, and I think we had a Gears of War with a flaming skull and loads of light.
They were cool.
It's a cool idea, isn't it?
Do you think PlayStation's trying to do that with the PS5? Do you think we're going to see...
It's a bit steady going if it is, isn't it?
No, what I mean...
We're a year in, you think they'd have done a different colour.
I thought that the only reason that they made it like that is so you could buy different...
Yeah.
Skins. Almost.
It seems bizarre that they wouldn't offer that customisation.
The thing is, I think they're going to get to that because they even sued that company that was making non-brand faceplates.
Yeah, I suppose.
If they're maybe waiting for a tentpole game, an example, their Ratchet and Clank launch window, fine, or brushed under the carpet. The next big game, they're going to pump the living wheels off, and it's going to be on the side of buses, it's going to be on TV, it's going to be at bus stops, it's going to be on the underground, is Horizon.
Yeah.
You will be sick of that by the time they're done with it. And I would say if there was ever
I am actually not getting that anymore at launch as well.
Why?
Elden Ring. Honestly, I've seen people playing that and it just looks brilliant.
It does look phenomenal.
And I know which I'd play more. Don't get me wrong, I liked Horizon Zero Dawn. Brilliant game. Very well made.
Well, I think it will be the test because it's the first re-emergence of the PlayStation 4 success formula.
Yeah.
Open world, crafting wheel.
Yeah.
Hiding in long grass. Strong story. Will it float on PS5? Well, it's a PS4 game ultimately.
Yeah.
So I think it probably might get a little bit of a kicking on PS5.
I think either that or Elden Ring will get delayed as well. I can't. I see Sifu, the smaller indie martial arts game.
I owe the listeners an apology.
That's been brought forward.
It's a PlayStation console exclusive. It's available on PC.
Ah, okay.
I told him it was on platforms. I was not wrong. I just wasn't explicitly correct.
So that's been brought forward to the 8th of February. Because a lot of people are saying they were going to try and buy all three in that month of February because they're three brilliant looking games from what we've seen and heard and read. But I can see one of those being delayed. It's a bit sort of poof. And you've got Dying Light 2 as well, which is a very popular series in the same month.
One would imagine if you're talking about Elden Ring, we ought to cut to some listener comments. First out the bag, Finster Gamer. I had the PS1, PS2 growing up, but so never really played Xbox until my teen years where I'd pile around to at the Midnight Massacre's house and spend the time smashing Halo. He's a man of extreme taste. And WWE Raw 2 with him.
What a lad.
And at Teachers the Sky. From there, I've had every Xbox since, purely for the sake of the Halo games, as we continue to keep up the tradition. I mainly tend to be into third-party games anyway, but it's Halo that sways my console choice of every generation, as I wouldn't want to miss out on it. Nowadays, I love what Xbox are doing with things like Games Pass and cloud gaming. I know it's not for everyone, but as someone who just wants to consume as many games as possible, humanly possible, he says, without breaking the bank, its ease and accessibility is perfect for me. I've also tried out cloud gaming.
Oh, yeah?
Most impressive. Remote sharing is one thing.
Yeah.
That cloud gaming, these are all the Star Wars metaphors. Now that's something else.
So, what did you try it on? Phone?
Yeah.
So you just logged onto your account on your phone and just played? Seamless?
Yeah. Forza Horizon 5.
Very nice.
Most impressive.
Yeah, you weigh that up again.
Compared to remote play,
Yeah.
which even on Xbox, I haven't had the best success with, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
PlayStation, same. PS5's remote share into a PlayStation 4 console, both Ethernet wired, flipping terrible.
Yeah.
Currently, village to village, round here, not good. Maybe in a major conurbation, might have better experience.
Yeah.
Round here, no. He sounds like a man who's had a similar Xbox journey to you, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the comment.
My son, not my real son, but my adopted son through the medium of the show. It's all about the law. You have to go back and have a listen in. But he's wedged himself firmly into the Ponsonby family now. Ginger's games room. When my mum told us we couldn't have the PS2 because the controller was too big, then bought us the original Xbox for Christmas. Upside down smiley face. There's mum logic. She listened to the man in Curry's that said, if you're coming in for a PS2 or an Xbox today, it would be my duty to inform you, Mrs. Ginge, that the Xbox is the most powerful console.
Yeah.
Is it? Yes. And that's what I will buy. Mum logic, Ginge should have been happy. Bottom lip out, probably wanted San An. Didn't get that. You got Yakuza missions, reckless Yakuza missions and blinks. There's a quality collection if ever I saw one.
Yeah, San An brought me back to the PS2. Definitely.
Although I got it on PS2,
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and then
It did get a release on Xbox, didn't it?
I got the triple
Yeah,
pack, and
that was the one I got.
it was bloody good on Xbox.
Yeah, played
Really
very
good.
well. And couldn't you put your own music into it as well?
You could.
Because there was a radio station you flicked to, and then it was basically the stuff on
I
you.
think so. I need to see if I've got that.
Yeah.
If I have, it'd be good.
I remember it being quite a, dare we say it, that was a polished version of the trilogy.
You could argue it was the most polished version of the trilogy we've had to this day.
Yeah.
Because people even then would hold it up in magazines as a way of demonstrating the power between the two machines.
Mm-hmm.
Comic Picture 79. He says, these are his memories bullet pointed. We'll see your noises. Halo, first time, wow. You know our motto, we deliver. Gotham, COD 3 with you and Tom. Forza 3 with you and the boys. Stewards' inquiries and all. There's a time and a place. Some good memories. Halo 3, what a game. Yeah, I did enjoy Halo 3. Destiny, lads over, 3 consoles, 2 games, countless updates, DLCs and raid completions. The Spongos in all their glory, winning Warzone matches like it's easy mode. The common thread meaning that the people make great games better, and that's always been a staple of Xbox. Long may it continue. Now, when I first started using the Xbox Online, the community was bang on. Over time, it went down. Not just the Xbox brand. Let me rephrase that. All online community went down the flipping cesspool. I always found myself more engaged with toxic griefers than ever having a good game. He's absolutely right. COD 3 was of a time where I felt like it was okay, this is acceptable to me. I'm finding like-minded people.
The Modern Warfare 2 lobbies, though, were pretty fun. It was just literally abusing each other. Like, it was great. Like, literally just shouting and cursing. And you look back now and think, like...
Oh, God.
It was just part of the fun. I will take you to a place, though, where the Battle for Middle-earth lobbies... Now that's a dungeon of dark.
How come you haven't wheeled that out as the great 360 memory?
I was just going to say, if you talk in terms of hours played, I play a lot of Overwatch. Played it on PS4, played it on Xbox One, played it on PS5. Lot of hours over that, but they probably pale in comparison to Battle for Middle-earth.
You're saying it with your chest out like you should be proud. You should be ashamed.
Mate. Great times. Strategy. Great for the brain.
Let me tell you about a man who doesn't need shame. It's Retro Gamer Thomas. He discards it like an ego. He has no use for it. I was always PlayStation when I was younger, and occasionally played on an original Xbox around my friends. But when I started collecting, I made sure I got one. Started to collect all the exclusives for the system, as it's the only way to play them. Really live the original with some wonderful... I think he really loves the original with some wonderful titles for the system. I then got a 360 for free when my dad upgraded his phone score. So I've been doing the same for that with some amazing exclusives. Damn right. I didn't get on with the Xbox One purely because I had a PS4 and there just didn't seem to be the exclusives or reason for me to play, as the PS4 absolutely dominated that gen. So I gave it to my nephew, who's still playing it daily now. Just such a missed opportunity, the Xbox One.
Oh, mate. I remember getting that, and it had been out for a year. And I remember getting it.
I would say about the Xbox One versus the PS4, I remember at the time... Now, the winners always write the history. We know this. Okay, we know this. Okay, PlayStation 4. It did sell a lot of numbers and still continues to sell a lot of numbers, and its trajectory could even make it the best-selling console of all time. But what really kicked the Xbox in the nuts was that weird DRM decision they were making. The thing is, prior to E3 and it going down like a lead balloon, I remember Sony were lining themselves up to do exactly the same thing. And that E3, they put the script that they had written in the bin and made a stupid little skit, or a very clever little skit, depending on how you look at it, of Shuya Yoshida saying, I think it was him, asking someone to borrow a game, and he handed it to him. And that was their point of saying, oh, PlayStation won't lock your games to your console.
Yeah.
Microsoft got played a googly there, I believe.
It's like this, like being pushed out in front of father, ready for an absolute thrashing, and just be like, yeah, you go first. Yeah.
Tell him it was all you.
Yeah.
And they baked in the Kinect, which, to be fair, based on their feedback and the reception the Kinect got at launch, on face value, you would be like, oh, we've got to bake in Kinect into the next console because people are going to need it, right? They're going to need it. 6 months after Kinect launched, the taste soured because the games dried up and the integration of the original Kinect was ultimately dreadful. Unless you lived in a stately home with perfect lighting and goodness knows what else, a certain ambience of temperature as well. So, and then they refused to back down on Kinect because they said that the Kinect was doing processing for the games. So literally these two things are linked, and if you take away the Kinect, the Xbox One can't play the games. How did that work out for you, Microsoft? Luckily, everyone glossed over the fact that you lied. And you launched the Xbox One without the Kinect.
Yeah.
And you ditched the Kinect like I would ditch the Pox if I got it. So I feel that, to me, I had been super loyal to the Xbox brand through the original Xbox, through the 360, into the Kinect, and doof. Things changed, not only on the console front with my feelings about the Kinect and how I just did not want that. I did not want that in my games in the way. I didn't want it in the way anymore.
People moan about this last year gone with the sort of slow next-gen games. when I got that Xbox One a year after release, there wasn't really anything I wanted to play on it. I bought GTA 5 again because they'd done like the re-release for the new gen, and that was like the highlight game, really. I played Shadow of Mordor, which was a good game. I enjoyed that. I think I got another couple of like sort of multi-platform
it's better
games.
on next gen as well because that launched on the older consoles.
Oh, did it?
PS3
PS3 and
especially looks like very tired playing Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, so I played those, and yeah, there just wasn't a great deal that I really enjoyed playing on it. And yeah, I kept it for a while, and then eventually, when I got the PS4 and had the Switch, I was just like, I might as well get rid of it. There's nothing I want to play on it.
Did you have Sunset Overdrive?
Yeah, I tried it. It was okay. Just wasn't a big fan. Played the Halos on there and Gears 4. But yeah, it just kind of lost a bit of its magic, I thought.
It had such a swell of good feeling.
I think what carried it is probably like what Adam was saying about it was the place to be to play with your friends, because a lot of your friends transferred from 360 to Xbox One.
Well, I think a lot of people transitioned from the PS2. So a load of people had the PS2 and wanted something new. And when they transitioned to that something new, it also made gaming online with your friends easy. COD was out. Launched with that groundswell of players. There was no other way. And you know what? It spread for me as water cooler moments. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, me and XYZ play this online. Do you? Yeah. What, so I can play you while you're playing? Yeah, you be in our team. Well, we're in the army. Yeah, completely like that. I'll get one tomorrow. We'll just finish off his comments. I'm seriously considering a Series S. You should do it. Microsoft really seems to be getting back on track with games and Games Pass, and the Series S value is a no-brainer. It's also Microsoft jumped onto the console market, which they did when it's very competitive, and although I don't have as many awesome moments of the system as some of the other guys, I still really appreciate the system and what Microsoft has added to gaming. C. Pliskin's here, says, just hang on, we'll get this one and done. All right, he says, sorry for the delay, got caught up in a storm, final weeks, that's actual storm name, look it up, made you look. And I think I actually don't have to say much to say on this topic.
But has the longest paragraph.
Which might be a good thing to most of you listening, smiling with a sweater face. Anyway, I don't really have a particular connection with the Xbox brand. We either have PlayStation or Nintendo. I will say one thing about Halo. For me, this is the one franchise I didn't really get. Anyway, he goes on to refer to the music. He says, imagine my surprise one day when the song Reverie was uploaded from the game onto my YouTube suggestions, and even without being someone who had no particular attachment to the series, the slow build-up with the horn section and the piano accompaniment bled into the choir felt so Halo, but because of the change in notation, it still felt like Halo, but with enough changes to make it its own. Okay. I've had a moment.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm sorry. I went deep within myself in my own imagination. I don't actually know where I've gone. The words turned into a blur and all I saw was Halo. And to be honest, I couldn't make my brain process anything else on the page. Halo's music. I think that's where he's going with that. That was game-changing when I heard it first, the choral intro. Mm-hmm. It was like nothing else you'd ever heard. And to be honest with you, it sent shivers up my spine. The Gaming Gram has been in touch. My first Xbox console was a 360. Got it back in 2008 as a surprise when I came home from school. There, bag of sweets on the table. That's not a bag of sweets, Dad. It's a 360. I can remember it was the mid-tier 360. You had the arcade, the one which I had, which I can't remember the name of, and then the Elite one. And it came with Pro Evo 6, Lego Star Wars 2, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, High Flyer Edition, full stop. I was quite content with my PS2 up until that point, but I wanted a next-gen console specifically for GTA 4. That sweet GTA 4, baby. Despite being a PlayStation guy, I was very happy that I switched to Xbox that gen. Despite loving the PS3 to bits, I feel the 360 was a stronger console. Since then, I bought an original Xbox so I could play out my WWE Raw games and WrestleMania 21. Certainly a nice machine, but I've never played the socks off my one. Can't say much about Xbox One. Bought one a few years ago after my PS4. Played it mainly for Forza, then sold it. Since then, I struggled to get a PS5. Bought a Series S. No complaints beside the small hard drive. It's cheap, but you wouldn't guess so from playing it. I don't care what anyone says. It's next gen for sure. Totally agree. My experience of it has been pretty awe-inspiring, to be honest. Considering how small it is. Impressive. I'm in love with Forza Horizon 5. Games Pass is incredible. Interface is a joy to navigate around. PlayStation is still my number one. Xbox has been very good to me over the years. I'm looking forward to spending more time with them thanks to the Series S. Message for you. Question for you. Looking forward to the show as always, guys. P.S. Has Tom seen the new WWE 2K22 video that dropped? If so, I want to know his thoughts. You've never seen anyone look at the state of that little slug. Guarantee you, because he's on the cutting edge of gaming journalism, he probably doesn't even know there's a WWE 2K trailer out.
I nearly sent it to you, but I felt that time had passed and that you would kind of brush it away and say, I'm not interested anymore. Goldberg looked basically like real life, but I don't trust him. I'm sorry.
The last one looked cartoony, but the gameplay was terrible.
They've had a couple of years to go away and rectify all the problems that people absolutely lambasted them for with the last one. I hope they get it done. That early trailer looks pretty impressive. New gameplay, new features, general manager mode, very realistic looking visuals. At times in the trailer, though, they had cut to like some of the lesser known. I mean, I don't really even know the roster much anymore. I know the legends, but you kind of look and think, well, they don't look anywhere near as good as that one you've just shown of Goldberg.
So unless you see Austin on the front cover, you don't normally tend to buy a wrestling game.
I will always want to buy them if they play really well because they're a brilliant multiplayer game.
Show me a wrestling game with better graphics than Here Comes the Pain.
Yeah, they were great for. I tell you what was great about Here Comes the Pain was the animations. The individual, like the way Austin would fall over and like do his trash talking thing to the person who's just been stunned,
I was actually
Lesnar's body language of like the sort of shoulder shrugging and angles like.
This is one thing I watched a video on YouTube. It was called The Evolution of Wrestling Game Graphics.
Yeah,
and I watched all the classics, and you got from Warzone through to that terrible car crash that's WWE Warzone.
On the N64.
Yeah, and the PS1. And dog's breakfast. And it got to SmackDown and looked half decent. And then it got to the PS2 and you saw Here Comes the Pain, and then the in-between one, which was like Know Your Role, maybe, I think. No, Know Your Role, just bring it, Know Your Role, Here Comes the Pain. That was the order, wasn't it, I think? And Here Comes the Pain looks great. And then the graphics kept getting better. And then they got to the PS4. And although at times I was thinking, wow, there's moments there where that actually looks real.
Yeah.
But those things you mentioned, because they looked even more real, if you're watching wrestling, the wrestler's mumbling to himself. He's saying things to the crowd. He's not just absolutely rock solid shut mouth. Next move.
Yeah.
If The Rock had just slammed someone, his mouth, and they could animate the mouth without the need to put words in his mouth.
Yeah.
He could just be like, I can't do that on an audio show, but
I know what you mean.
My mouth doing what he would have done. And I'm not asking. I don't even think
when he'd do like the three punches and then like is it like he'd spit in his hand or something, or pretend to spit in his hand, and they had all that in Here Comes the Pain.
I'm talking about ones that aren't even linked to a move set, that aren't even linked to the taunt button.
Right,
facial animations that really tie the whole thing together. So if he's doing something, he's talking smack to the audience, he's talking smack to the ref. You don't press a button for it; it's just happening naturally as a wrestler do as part of the show.
Yeah.
Because that when you're not playing it, you probably noticed it more. And I watched this Evolution video, not the wrestling faction, but the the time change of the eras, and that was the one thing that held it back. Up until that point, the graphics weren't quite good enough where you thought, "Oh, that's missing," but then it tipped over the edge, and I was like, "Oh, that actually looks worse for that reason."
There's a very interesting thing in that new trailer. Just we'll close out. Thank you for asking opinions on that. Was at a certain point in the trailer, they pause and it brings up you know where you get your controller exploded drawing with the controls, what each button does.
Yeah.
You look at, I paused it and I'd look at the controls, what they are. Very much gone back to basics. So you've got grapple, I think heavy grapple or strike, and it run, and it's, I think.
Basically, they've tried to implement the no mercy control.
I don't know whether it's.
And if they do that now, they're going to get absolutely.
I don't know whether it would.
The AEW game seems to have gone down that route as well. They're using the creators of the.
I'm cautiously optimistic about the new one that I saw.
Okay, Gaming Graham. It's had Tom's seal of approval. Buy it. He won't. Let us know how good it is. Boba Loba. Last listener comment. He's got in touch. He says, so many things could talk about here. I'll do my best to keep it short, though. Laughing with a smiley with tears. Emoji. I've loved Xbox from day one. The OG machine felt like it was on another level. Do you know, me and Boba Loba and you must have crossed paths in Game, which is the shop that used to be next door to what is now CEX in Lincoln.
Game Station, yeah.
He must have been in there. We must have sat picking through games, sneering down our nose at each other's choices. The OG machine felt like it was on another level. Forza Motorsport rarely left the disc tray. Here. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I was to fire it up now, that's what I'd find in there. The 360 holds some of my fondest gaming memories. Halo 3 was the first entry into the series. Really got my teeth into. I was too busy playing Forza to show the first 20 love. And I always hark back to Endless Nights on probably the best multiplayer experience to this day. Then came Gears of War, the best looking game I'd probably ever seen. Absolutely.
Yeah,
when that came out and it had the TV spot, my chest was out just getting out of bed in the morning. I was like, I got a 360, I'm getting Gears for Christmas, look at that. People stopping you in the street. Like, what's that all about? That's a game. Your familiar faces, worn out places. Tingles. I'm getting tingles. The best looking game ever, still holds up today. Yeah, I think the art style of the original Gears of War, I know if they've remastered it, but there's something. Cliffy B nailed that first game in isolation on original hardware. There's nothing wrong with it at all. The arrival of the Xbox One was a big deal for Boba Loba. He was an Xbox ambassador at launch and spent loads of time on live chat and forums helping other gamers out with advice and troubleshooting. Don't ask me why I'm not an ambassador anymore. Smiling nervously with teeth showing emoji. That probably didn't go very well.
Well, it's a very stressful place, the internet.
It is. A group of Xbox mad gamers started a website dedicated to the platform, and they were super active with the community on Twitter, which was still relatively new and wasn't the hellmouth it is today.
Oh, he's just a great bloke, isn't he?
Proving all your evidence from the beginning of the show, therefore, he's probably won himself a knighthood. I give out the knighthoods. We're going to knight him anyway. He's probably knighted, I don't know.
He's been knighted long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Long story short, I became part of the XBM network and helped build a social media presence designed to bring gamers together, share our passion for the brand. One of my proudest achievements is how far XBM has come. Green heart emoji. Tom.
I'd have love for the Xbox.
I think we've had a real bloodletting today on Xbox. I think generally, you've
I'm old school 1800s. Got the bleeder out, just giving it some of that, releasing the pressure.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Give me a blood letting. Staggered in, angry, tired, resentful. Now you're going out the other side, exactly how our listeners felt. You've been on the journey someone's going to go on when they listen to this show tomorrow.
I hope so.
Do you know what?
Could be the fact that I get to go home and play Battlefield in a minute.
You'd be miserable. Listen,
no, I'm looking for... we'll get to that anyway.
There's going to be no stress on Stingray suspension. What's you been up to this week? That's your one commitment.
He's been selling knockoff dodgy digital camos for operator
Let it
cosplays.
Okay, he won't. He's tearing up the drive. It's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot box nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend All this week. These are the new release highlights for the week November 15th to the 21st. George's show went out on the 22nd. Details. Okay, listeners, these are out digital, physical, will be by the time this podcast in your feed, but could be. Oh, Tom, bay yourself, rock, stop, wow, wow. Could be region independent. He's here. Stop, spring, smoke, wow, wow. Didn't smile. I've stopped doing it for a while. First game out of the boot, Death's Door, PC, PS5, PS4, November 23rd. Reaping Souls of the Dead and Punching a Clock. Might get monotonous, but it's honest work for a crow.
That's my game of the week.
The job gets lively when your assigned soul is stolen. You must track down a desperate thief to a realm untouched by death, where creatures grow far past their expiry.
Yeah, I might pick that up after I finish Canna.
Okay. Up next, this is My Mummy Mummy. Cricket 22, the official game of the Ashes. Out on PC, PS5, Xbox series of consoles, PS4, and the Xbox One, November 25th. Cricket 22 delivers The Big Bash, The 100, and a multitude of other fan-favourite competitions. All new mechanics, commentary, and captivating narrative-driven career mode will immediately immerse you in the ultimate cricket experience today.
See, I think they're great multiplayer games usually because they're quite obviously slow-paced. They're quite a relaxed game in a lot of ways. A bit like when we used to play like golf. And you just pass it round.
What, when you used to come round and play Tiger Woods 2004?
Yeah.
No online necessary.
No.
What are you doing? Want to come and play a game? Yeah. Thing is, the only downside to that was one of us had to go outside for a period of time on completion.
Yeah, I didn't mind.
A little bit like you feel for recording the show.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it means I've got to go. Oh, I can't be bothered. This is My Mummy Mummy, because why not? It's Lens Island on the PC, November 26th.
What are you playing that on then?
Steam Deck.
Steam Deck.
Build, fight.
Early ambassador, you've already got one.
I've got a Steam Deck.
Excellent.
Yeah. At least that's what I think it is. Build, fight, farm, and explore. Experience your own path. Want another farming sim? No, you got one anyway. Whether it's building the home of your dreams, tending to your crops, or watching the sun go down, or explore the mysteries of the island and the darkness underneath, you may want to take your sword with you. Name and Shame VHS.
Ghostbusters Afterlife. I've got a knockoff copy from Ray.
Good old Ray. Perfect. Perfetto.
Wonderful film if anyone's fancying going watching it.
I
highly
need
recommend.
to motivate myself, but I will take that in. I'm going to recommend... No, we've had that.
Do you know what I've been watching recently with the boy? A program called Huxley Pig.
You're just not educating that boy right at all, are you? That's the sort of drivel you were brought up on.
It's great. It's like Mr. Ben.
It's play school. It's dum-dum.
But it is a toddler. Toddler? Toddler?
What is he?
Toddler.
What is a toddler?
Toddler. It's like a cross between a toddler and a
teenager.
Child. Oh.
Because I think we just jumped in. What?
Been reading.
Can I have my pick?
I've been reading a comic as well, of all things.
Okay. Right.
Last Ronin. Turtles. Absolutely wonderful.
A paper copy?
Yes.
Did you get that from Waterstones? Were you birthday money?
No. They're releasing it as a graphic novel when they've done all 5 parts, but this was just a cheap one off the internet of part 1. So I might just wait now and get all 5 parts in the graphic novel. Yes.
Mummy, may I pick my game? My film?
Yes.
I want Flushed Away.
Oh, right, okay. The one with the rats.
The one with the rats. Yeah.
Rats.
DreamWorks one, but done by Aardman.
Yeah. I like Hartman.
Pretty good.
High watermark.
Where's he gone?
Down the drive. Indicator's not working.
He doesn't use indicators because, much like his experience with the getaway, they tell the police where he's going, so he's disconnected the bulbs. He's not stupid, you see. Ray is a maestro of criminal evasion.
And for everybody else, besides the police, he uses his arms like this.
In the village, he uses his arms to signal the way. In fact, when he wants to turn right, is Wayne Ray still alive?
No.
He's got his dead son's rigor mortis arm that he hangs out on a long stick. I don't know why. Some would say that's not very PG.
He'd seen
George.
Pet Sematary too many times.
I would say, line me up the kids that listen. You're already down the M25. You've already dropped them off at school by this point in time. You're safe to get a little bit edgy when you get to the boot. It's a rule that we have written on the wall in blood. That was that. Anyone who pays attention to anything ever that we've ever done or said, which probably isn't that many people, know that when Ray's gone, I ask you what you're hoping to play.
Hoping to go home and play some more Kenner Bridge of Spirits, which I'm looking forward to getting further into. I will be playing more Battlefield.
I bet you will.
Yes.
I want a quick show. It's going to be 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
That's
my
stop
fault.
Yourself, could you?
No.
I wanted to get back to playing Avengers, and you wanted to, through the medium
The
of
more
a small
hours I save you
boutique
from that
podcast.
game, the better.
No, because the quicker I get it done, the quicker I can get the Spider-Man bits
You're
done.
going down Assassin's Creed route again. Next week you'll be saying, I've had enough of gaming. I've just played too many. Slow down.
I am trying to very slowly chew my Avengers food, and you're like, try it quicker! I want you to play this game, but I want you to play. I want you to play my game.
You did tell me you were going to play Deathloop, which was in the sale on the PS Store.
Okay.
Although you tend to buy physical, don't you?
I do. It's a moment in time.
Yeah. I will buy the odd. I really, after watching the Ghostbusters film, did really want to buy the video game, which I've still never played, bizarrely.
Oh, dude.
I don't know how I've never played that.
It even got a remaster, which might not... It's on a last-gen console, so technically it's already still too old for you.
It is, yeah. I'm waiting for the remaster of the remaster.
The PS3 game.
Yeah. I don't know how that passed me by on 360. I must have been deep.
If you listen to the show, you know what I'm gonna say, but you had that game.
I didn't have it. I played the demo. Played the demo. Never bought the game.
You're not gonna like what I've got to say, but if you know the show, I'll say it anyway. You had that game.
The cart I done.
You had that game.
In that era, I bought a lot of games. I probably took back a lot of games.
You forgot that game. You got no console to play it on.
I definitely played a demo of it. I've played it.
Boom, 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 boom. That's the music in the menu.
I can't believe you've not been there day one of the new film. You've been burnt by the 2016 one too much.
Too much? Dude. You may have gone into the 2016 version coming away with nothing but a small blood blister on the end of your finger.
I like those female comedians, but I just don't think the film was that
looking
great.
Like Simon Weston. I was burnt to a crisp. I want nothing to do with that film. And I had to just let the moment settle to make sure I wasn't being pulled down a rabbit hole with this latest concoction. Thankfully, sounds like they haven't.
Should have been called Ghostbusters Redemption, really. You might not like, but...
Anyway, now they know what I'm going to play. They know what you're going to play. To be honest, at 2 hours, we've probably pushed their patience a little too far. Especially the first 20 minutes. We'll probably go in the bin.
Crikey. Yeah, probably best cut that bit out, really.
And if... Oh, no. No. Controversy equals listens, equals likes, equals
well, there you go.
support.
That's why I do it. It's what you pay me the big bucks for.
You're right. And with that all said and done, Tom, that's all we've got time for this week. Listeners, always thank you for your time. Look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy game. Remember, there's nothing, absolutely you maybe should have read this line out before you did the top of the show. There's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Tom.
See you, mate.